desire ignites passion and creativity. Free your imagination with the slim, sleek, and beautiful new Huawei P8.
France. Brett, thanks for joining us on Tech Busters. Why have you decided to become the technology partner for Tour de France?
Well, Aki, what we're looking for is we're looking for a way and for a sport where we could really make a difference. Part of what we do is make a difference through the technology we provide. And cycling, we found, was one sport where we thought we could make a massive difference to bring the technology to bear. And so we thought we'd start with that one.
That's absolutely awesome. I'm looking at some of the data, it's amazing. Now, Tour de France has always been one of those interesting sporting events where there's been a lot of data, and you could monitor the cyclists, and it's a fascinating race. But have you taken it up one notch with all the data that you're gathering, or have you just taken the existing infrastructure that they had last year, added a bit of technology and just became the partner, or have you really amped it up?
Well, Aki, as you said, we've really amped it up. So we are really making a difference already. And this is just the first phase. We have about a 5-year program of continuously bringing huge innovation to market. So in the first year, this year, we're starting to give you information about this, mainly around the speed of the individual riders. So for the first time ever, you can actually monitor the real speed of the bicycle, by the device we put on the bike. And we can then monitor every single bicycle. So you can see, if you go onto the websites and that, you can track the speed of any one of your preferred rider, the distance between first and last, the average speed, the fastest. So there's a lot more information which was never available before. And that's why I say we really have made a difference here. We could make a big difference.
Now, Brett, what I find astonishing about this whole thing is that this has been done while the actual race is on. It's been done live. So you're not taking the data, collecting it, downloading it, and then analyzing it. This is actually happening while the race is on. Now, how are you doing all this?
Well, Lucky, that's the magic here. Is to try and do that is very, very difficult. So what we're doing in the first instance is there's a device on every bicycle.
Yes.
The bicycles communicate with the cars in terms of like a wireless, you think of it as a wireless mesh network into the cars that follow them. You'll see all those cars and the motorbikes.
Right.
That then is beamed up to 8 helicopters that go above the race and 2 fixed wing aircraft, then beamed to the end of the race where we have a mobile data center. It's a whole data center on wheels.
Wow.
All the data comes in there, and that's when we actually receive the data and try and convert masses of data into meaningful information.
If you see the data that you've been showing me, I mean, all of these charts over here, this is an incredible amount of data that's being created. This is ultimately big data at its best, because you're basically analyzing heart rate, speed. I mean, I'm looking at some of the stuff. You can even see when they stop down, when they slow down to have lunch, for example, their speed slow down. You can see and compare the speed of the average team. Even the interesting one for me is when there was their crash, I think on day 1 or 2, the graph just spikes right down. So the big data here is the exciting part.
This is actually, we read a lot about big data. This is really big data in action. And the big thing for the user is, if you think about the consumer or your viewer, it's really, they don't have to worry about that. That's what we have to do is gather all this big data, provide the analysis, the analytics, and provide meaningful information. So they may see a simple stat that Sky team was ahead of BMC team by 1 second at the first time check on Saturday, and still 1 second ahead of the second time check.
Wow.
But that 1 second is taken an enormous amount of data to actually pull together. We have to just collect mountains of data. Not only do we need to collect it, we also, of course, need to store it, back it up, and keep it for future trending analysis.
Yes.
So, because the key thing we want to do is, let's say next year, to be able to, in the year thereafter, to go back and provide your year-on-year statistics of trending, which we know our users are going to be very interested in as well, to see how fast Chris Froome went up one mountain last year versus this year. We'll have all that data basically stored.
But now, Brett, this is like Formula One in a sense, because you're analyzing every single team over here. Is this knowledge available publicly? I mean, can the other teams access this knowledge? Because I would imagine that if one team sees, hey, we were very slow on this stage, we were doing this, we lost 10 seconds over there, the teams can use this to make themselves more competitive, right? Is this public knowledge?
That is public knowledge. So the ASO who own the race, they have to obviously do the negotiation with the teams about what information we can make available, because we could make a lot more available.
Yes.
So they need to guide us, and we are only allowed to provide the information that they approve. And then yes, that's very public. So for the first time, the teams are getting information they would never before have had access to.
So this is 2015. You're going to be doing this for the next 5 years. So we've spoken about big data. There's Internet of Things coming as well. I mean, the technology is becoming smaller and smaller. Who knows what you could be doing in 3 years from now? I mean, we're talking about possibly monitoring their heart rates, their blood pressure. Is that information already accessible, or is that something you're looking at down the line?
We're looking at that. That is possible today. We do think it's possible. We don't have that in part of our, we're not releasing that information, or even, to be clear, not collecting it today. But we think in the fullness of time, there's no reason why we could not provide power, cadence, heart rate of that individual in cycling. But we're already looking at those in other sports.
Yes.
There's no reason you couldn't do the exact same thing. Think about it for mass running events or triathlons, where you can take sensors onto a personal device, maybe on the wrist or even on a piece of clothing, and we could be collecting all that kind of information and making it available. That's why we're excited. We're bringing together concepts like the Internet of Things, big data. I mean, this is that stuff in action.
I'm loving this. Brett Dawson, thank you for chatting to us.
Thank you very much.
Lovely stuff.
So I'm not a cyclist.